After an hour's drive, the van lurched to a stop. The bolts were thrusted back and the doors flung open. The first thing Alvin and his investigators heard was a hideous screeching sound. Within seconds, it was followed by hundreds of wild squawks. Mars shuddered. Birds. The Marsman dragged them from the van into a courtyard. Alvin gazed around in amazement. They were in the center of a vast bird park. A series of massive aviaries surrounded them, filled with every imaginable species of bird. The noise became deafening as the birds, disturbed by the van's arrival, swooped around their enclosure. The van was parked in front of a small concrete building that housed the visitor center and souvenir shop. Sculptures of birds decorated its roof. "Where are we?" Alvin demanded. "I thought you were taking us to the snake." "Welcome, Alvin," said a smooth, sinister voice behind him. Alvin and his friends spun around to discover a man with a green reptile skin mask stretched over his face. He had stepped out from the souvenir shop. "The snake," gasped Wheeling. "Good morning and welcome to my bird park," the snake greeted them. "It's just one of the many businesses my company operates." "I hate birds," shrieked Mars. "Can't we go somewhere else? I thought it was rather clever to bring you all here." The snake's mask moved menacingly as he laughed. "After all, an aviary is the last place you'd expect to find a dead eagle." Alvin took a step forward, but the snake's hand moved like lightning. He aimed a handgun at Alvin's stomach. Its stainless steel barrel gleamed in the morning sunlight. "Don't move, any of you," he warned. "This is my new throat python, so perfectly named the snake. It holds 6 rounds, which means I have 1.357 magnum for each of you. And if you force me to use it, I can assure you I won't miss at this short range." "I thought we had a deal," said Alvin defiantly. "In exchange for any information, you leave us alone." "You didn't expect me to believe that, did you, Alvin?" sneered the snake. "It was so obvious you were trying to trick me." The gun shifted impatiently. "We are wasting time. I have billions of dollars at stake and I am getting tired of your continual interference." "Then let us go home and we won't trouble you again," suggested Azizu cheekily, and one of the masked men jabbed him sharply in the back with his gun. "Ouch!" The snake led Alvin and his team into the souvenir shop. One of the display cases had been put aside, revealing a narrow flight of stairs that led them down into a small, gloomy basement. And in the center of the room, perched on a box, was the eagle. And standing beside it, his hands bound together behind his back, was Professor Julius Jung. The old man was shaking with fear. "Alvin, I should never have involved you in my affairs. I am terribly, terribly sorry." Alvin gave him a curt look. "I think, Professor Jung, you are going to be even sorrier when you hear what I have to say." The snake leveled his gun at Alvin. "You told my daughter you knew what I was looking for, and you knew where to find it. So, talk," he commanded. Alvin began to pace up and down as he always did when he explained something. He also wanted to take his time. The longer he could make his meeting last, the more time Sergeant Sue would have to find out they'd been kidnapped. "Let me start at the beginning," Alvin cleared his throat and eyed the snake. "The first mystery we had to solve was why Professor Jung contacted us. The answer to that soon became clear, because his idol had disappeared and he knew you had stolen it. After you threatened him, he was really scared. He promised to cooperate with you, but he changed his mind, and that's why he came to us, because he knew we'd outsmarted you in 2 previous cases. The snake snorted. That won't happen again, I assure you. This time, Alvin, I have clearly outsmarted you. Alvin pointed to Professor Jung. Then there was the mystery of Professor Jung himself. He wanted us to think he was just an old, retired professor whose hobby was collecting rare birds. He thought we'd never find out he was a rocket scientist. The professor gasped in surprise, and Alvin turned to him. Tell us, Professor, did you steal that money in America? Is that why they fired you from the rocket project? The shock on the old man's face gave way to anger. How dare you? I didn't steal a cent of your money. That's what I thought, Alvin nodded. So you stole something else instead. You don't know what you're talking about, Professor Jung cried. But Alvin ignored him. You felt cheated. You've been publicly disgraced. Your reputation was ruined. You wanted your revenge. So you stole the secrets of the new rocket you'd been designing. Rafi watched Alvin with admiration. He was always amazed by the way his friend could put a theory together from lots of different facts. Do you blame me? Raged the old man. How dare they accuse me of that? I thought I'd teach them a lesson. So you returned here and you brought your secrets with you, Alvin carried on. He began pacing again. And that brings us to our third mystery. How did the snake get involved, and why? That puzzled me a lot. The snake wouldn't waste his time stealing a dead bird, unless of course something was hidden inside the bird, like money, or gold, or diamonds. But that didn't make sense. So what was hidden in the idol? The answer, something far more valuable. The secret plans of the new rocket. Wailing and Marge gasped. Cinchita snapped her finger. That's brilliant, Alvin, she cried. Excellent, agreed the snake, with a mocking laugh. You never cease to amaze me, Alvin. But Alvin ignored his sarcastic praise. Instead, he folded his arms and stared at the master criminal. The next mystery was really puzzling. How did the snake even know about the idol's secret? He asked. He walked across to Professor Jung, and then I realized what had happened. You, Professor, trusted the one man you believed to be your friend, Professor Aloysius Thumb. At some point after you returned, you made a terrible mistake. You told Professor Thumb what you'd done and where your secret was hidden. Professor Jung shook his head in disbelief. You mean it was Aloysius who betrayed me? I don't believe you. Who else could it have been? Countered Alvin. But why would Professor Thumb betray his friend? Mars wanted to know. Alvin smiled. Jealousy, he replied, because Thumb was still teaching at the university after all those years, while his old friend Professor Jung had become a world-famous rocket scientist. Thumb was secretly jealous of everything his friend had achieved, and my guess is he also needed money. So when he heard what was in the idol, he contacted the snake. Am I right? Absolutely, Alvin. The snake nodded. Aloysius Thumb is a greedy little man who betrayed his friend. He told me that certain foreign powers would pay billions of dollars to have those rocket plans. Naturally, I was very interested. But what about those phone calls? Professor Thumb told us from the man with the nasty voice. Azizu asked, or was he just lying? Great thinking, Azizu, Alvin said. Professor Tam was really shocked when we turned up at the universities. That's why he made up those lies about threatening phone calls. He was trying to throw us off the trail. You're right, Willing clutched Alvin's wrist. Remember how scared he looked when you said he'd you asked him if he'd ever heard of someone called the Snake? We are wasting time, growled the Snake. I don't want to talk about Tom. He cocked his gun at Alvin. You still haven't told me where the plans are. Azizu wrinkled his forehead, but Alvin said they were in the Edo. They're not, roared the Snake. Look at the stupid bird. It's in perfect condition. It never been cut open or damaged in It's never been cut open or damaged in any way. I even had it x-rayed. There's nothing inside it. Nothing. Why do you think I sent one of my men to search the professor's house? And why do you think I kidnapped Professor Jung? I want the truth. The truth? Alvin grinned. That's a strange word coming from you, Snake. The cold python whipped around and jabbed hard into Alvin's chest. Don't give me another reason to use this gun, the Snake warned. Alvin walked across to the Edo. Rafe, Mas, tell me what you see, he invited them. Rafe stepped closer and stared at the huge bird. Mas shivered as she approached. At last Rafe looked up at Alvin, mystified. I don't see anything, he announced. Exactly what Professor Jung intended, grinned Alvin. Like everyone else, I thought at first the rocket plans were on a piece of microfilm hidden in the Edo's body. But the more I thought about it, I thought, no. I knew Professor Jung loved that bird so much he would never cut it open or do anything to damage it. And hidden in its body, they would easily show up if the bird were ever x-rayed. So if there is nothing inside the Edo, then it must be on the outside. What do you mean? Asked Wailing. I can't see anything. Suddenly she caught her breath. You don't mean in the Edo's eyes? They are made of glass, Alvin nodded. And unless I'm mistaken, the professor reduced the rocket plants to something really small, much smaller than microfilm, more like a microdot, and embedded in one of the Edo's eyeballs. The Snake signaled to the man next to him, who sprinted across to the Edo. He produced a knife, ready to dig it out of the bird's eyes. No, screamed Professor Jung. Don't damage the bird. You don't need to do that. I'll get it for you. The Snake's man cut him loose. Professor Jung reached over and gently began turning one of the Edo's eyes. When he had unscrewed it, he gripped it between his thumbs and forefinger. He squeezed the eye until it popped open and a tiny plastic disc slipped into the palm of his hand. Alvin thought the microdot looked like a miniature black contact lens. The Snake snatched it from him. His reptile skin mask rippled with pleasure. Professor Jung turned deathly pale. You've been very clever, Alvin, but now that Snake has got what he wants, our lives are worth nothing. But we haven't finished yet, Alvin said. There's one more mystery. What did the Snake do with Professor Aloysius Tam? I don't follow you, Alvin, snapped the Snake. What are you talking about? Professor Tam has disappeared, Alvin informed him. Did you kidnap him too, so you can cut him out of his share of the money when you sell the rocket plants? Tam, gone? The snake sounded genuinely surprised. I've absolutely no idea where he is, but I wouldn't put it past him to try and double-cross me. You're right, Snake. The voice came from the shadows at the bottom of the stairs. Professor Tam had arrived quietly, flanked by three armed men in black hoods. Your old friends, the Black Hands, made me an offer I couldn't refuse.